Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is open season. This is Tuesday, 8 o'clock. That means the four of us are on, and we're talking about Cam Newton this week. Cam Newton, a New England Patriot. We're also going to talk a little bit about the NBA, some of the best duos. Been 10 years since the LeBron James whole decision. But, guys, we can't stray too far from the main thing. Pat signed Cam Newton. Thumbs up or thumbs down?
Thumbs up. It's the best thing I've heard or seen since getting on the show and seeing Alex's forehead tonight. All right. I personally, I've never been a huge Cam Newton fan per se, but just to think like this move came out of nowhere, really. It's like Sunday night sitting around. It's like, oh, we just got Cam Newton. We're going into the year at Stidham, and now we have Cam Newton. Not saying he's going to lead us to the AFC Championship game, but I do think he gives us a better chance to at least win the AFC East and not let the Bills take that this year, which everyone thought like last week.
Frank?
Yeah, honestly, I'm a huge thumbs up. Cam Newton's got all the raw tools. Everybody tries to draw a line of demarcation. His MVP season, the 2-point conversion hit against the Falcons, he hasn't been the same since those two moments. He really has. Every time he's been healthy, he's been productive. He was the most productive rookie through, I believe, the first 8 games ever, certainly for the first 2. His MVP season, he was spectacular. The QB rating in and of itself doesn't even allow for rushing stats, for which he's been the best rushing quarterback since 2011 when he was drafted. And I'm a big fan that certain coaches are qualified to coach mistakes out of players. I know it's a really hard thing. I know most coaches don't really make their bones doing that. That's a Bill Belichick staple. And I think if anybody's going to correct that footwork at 31, it's probably going to be Bill Belichick. I know McDaniels has always wanted a mobile quarterback. The guy drafted Tim Tebow in the first round. He loved having Jacoby Brissett. He wanted to keep Garoppolo. We interviewed Baker Mayfield. We worked out Kyler Murray. I mean, he wants a guy that can move the pocket. I think that's well documented. And honestly, I think Cam Newton's going to be perfect for a couple reasons. I think, we're going to go back to those sweeps, those drags, those third down Shane Vereen type plays. I think we're going to extend James White's route tree just a little bit from 6 yards to that 8 to 14 yard intermediate route. I think you're going to see him get a little bit deeper in coverage on linebackers. And I think Cam Newton has only, if not anything else, that throw in his arsenal. I think by design, before he got here, we were going to run the ball an awful lot. I think we have a great running back room, even though we don't have a great running back. And I think Cam Newton, because he can run, even though he'll be running less, is going to be perfect for the scheme that we were going to have before he got here. And I think he's going to be complimentary. And he's going to have
I got to cut you off, Frankie. I got to cut you off. I got to pass it along to Alex for a second.
Yeah, I'm going to give this signing a big old fat 2 thumbs way down. Cam Newton is a glorified Wildcat quarterback who's 31 years of age and is going to get hurt within moments of stepping out onto an actual game field. We're talking about a guy who in the past 2 years has done nothing. He's been injured. His shoulder's all messed up. Is there any proof out there that he's even healthy? Not to mention, this guy is someone that they're bringing to back up Jarrett Stidham. He is our glorified backup. He is going to be the Drew Bledsoe to Tom Brady for Jarrett Stidham. Stidham is our quarterback. This is a smokescreen. Bill Belichick is a master of disguise, and he has put the entire NFL on notice, and they're all going to be planning and prepping for Cam Newton when Jarrett Stidham's really going to be working in the shadows, more determined than ever that they've just brought on another NFL MVP to compete with him. Stidham is their guy 100% of the way. Their offense is better off with a quarterback like Jarrett Stidham in it than it is with Cam Newton, who is unreliable, inaccurate, and bound to get hurt. You are looking at a Patriot offense that has bigger needs than a backup quarterback. They could have easily brought in a better tight end. They could have easily found ways to sign other guys, maybe potentially another running back, as the position underperformed pretty drastically last year. I mean, when you look at this signing of Cam Newton, you're looking at another one of Belichick's smokescreens. I think Cam is going to be cut from this team by week 6. I think that Brian Hoyer will be the backup, and I think that other positions of need will be filled. This is an incentive.
Can you honestly sit there and say that you believe that? I mean,
I 100% believe Stidham is the starter going into this year. He will beat out Cam Newton in camp. Not to mention Cam is not the locker room fit, or he's never even been the leader. The Patriot way is a real thing, and Cam Newton is not going to be able to fill the shoes that have been vacated. He has never seen the way Tom Brady has carried himself in the locker room. Stidham has, and Stidham is going to fill that void.
I think you fell asleep on the outside today, Alex, a little bit too much maybe. But no, I just want to say, I think Cam Newton actually – I think Jarrett Stidham next year is going to be the quarterback. I think for this team, Cam Newton's perfect for it. If you look at the receiving core, Sanu, Harry, both big, like, physical guys can block. Edelman can block. They're not like deep, like, route runners. They're short, intermediate routes that can get open. I was watching the Panthers-Pats game last night. All the passes that Newton made were like 10, 12-yard in and out routes. That's exactly what those receivers are going to be doing, and they can block for any of the times he does do a QB sneak or like one of those fake handoffs. I think the Patriots believe in Stidham, but they also think he's a year away from being the guy, or they wouldn't have made the move. But it's also there's no risk in making this move. They paid less to sign him than they did when they got fined this week. I think they paid him $1 million, and there was like 1.2 for that fine they had for the Bengals game that they were viewing the practice or whatever. Who the hell views the Bengals practice? They're the worst team in the league anyways. But regardless, Cam Newton, and to say he's not a leader,
tanking for Joe Burrow.
Yeah, Cam Newton led the Panthers. Everyone in that locker room, they this week are coming out and saying, I'm so happy for Cam. Cam was a leader. I think the media portrays Cam Newton as like this because he dresses like a whack job, let's say it. Like he wears these big green hats and he's like, he's kind of out there. But then look at Tom Brady.
Grandma.
Look at Tom Brady's fashion over the past couple of years. He's come to the point and be like, what the heck are you wearing? Like, I think Cam Newton's going to come into this. He has everything to gain. And the Patriots, the same way. It's a match made in heaven, I think.
I agree it's a match made in heaven. And Alex, one thing you said I completely agree with. It's an all-time Belichick smokescreen. Because this news came out, hours after the fine? It was right about we were going to spend all week talking about the latest gate, if you will, involving the Patriots. No, you're not. We're going to sign Cam Newton, and you're going to have something else to chew on. I do believe part of the timing of it was absolutely a Bill Belichick mastermind smokescreen. I have no doubt about that.
Definitely suspect.
Absolutely. Suspect or genius. Depends on how you look at it.
Genius.
I consider
We'll say
exactly.
genius.
Exactly.
And again, it's genius.
I believe Stidham is the quarterback of the future. I do, because I think him and Garoppolo have one thing in common. I think they're both Tony Romo light. And my whole point has always been, again, Bill Belichick can make up that difference. Tony Romo's a perennial loser. If he had Bill Belichick as a coach, I don't think the narrative on him is the same at all. I don't think the history would have shown the exact same results. I think that's what an all-time coach will do for you. And I think you bring in an all-time talent like Cam Newton. The guy's got a cannon. I understand he's been inconsistent, but his highs are as high as any quarterback's highs that we've seen in the last 10 years. And you match that with, again, a scheme that schemes guys open better than any other team in the league, say for maybe McVay, maybe the 49ers. But I don't know how many guys besides last season that have more guys running wide open than the Patriots over the last 10 years. And now you're bringing in a guy who forces linebackers to stay true, even if he's not going to run. The fact that he can causes defenses to have an extra element that we haven't had in our offense for 10 years.
So typically, around Cam or a running quarterback, you've got to make moves with your personnel to, kind of acquiesce to them, right? And kind of, create. But I feel like the Pats, they never build too much around one guy. Do you think the Pats are going to make some moves to try to beef things up for Cam Newton? Maybe get another wide receiver? Do you think they're going to – who do you think is going to have to adjust more? The Pats will adjust more to Cam, or Cam will do more adjusting to the Pats?
Cam will do some adjusting to the bench, first and foremost, because that's what he's going to be all season behind Jarrett Stidham. I mean, we're talking about a guy who everyone's like, oh, Cam Newton can run, Cam Newton can this, Cam Newton. He's 31 years old. If running backs wear down by the time they're 26, 27, 28, where's Cam Newton with his shoulder and everything else? He's not going to be the mobile quarterback we've seen in the past. if they want to be a pocket passer, good luck to you. I don't think defenses are going to respect him running the ball this year. And I don't think that if they run with him, I don't think the Patriots are going to be very successful at all. And I mean, if we're talking how they're going to actually fit in with the Patriots offense, I mean, I just don't see Bill changing or Josh changing that much for Cam. They're going to stick with what they've done in the past and what's been successful.
Have you seen his workout videos, Alex?
Yes, I have.
I'm 33. I don't have any relevance of a six-pack. This guy is built like a freaking middle linebacker. Is he going to be rushing for 1,000 yards next year? Of course not. But the one thing that's going to help him is, I think a lot of time he got hurt is he holds on the ball too long in the pocket. Belichick's offense or McDaniel's offense is getting the ball up quick. He's going to have to make quick reads or he's going to have to run. I don't think that he's like teams are going to have to respect his running ability. Is he as fast as he used to be? Of course not. But he's going to just have to get the ball up quick. He can't hold on to the ball because that's the one thing that Bledsoe always got us in trouble for, was holding on to the ball for too long and getting sacks. Cam
Do you
Newton
trust Cam to be able to make those quick reads, though?
So Cam, when he was in one of the last years he was in Carolina, I know Norv Turner was the offensive coordinator. Norv Turner runs not the same offense that the Pats run, obviously, but there is some similarities to it. And that helped him in the passing game. That's going to help Cam Newton adjust to the Patriots offense. Because adjusting the Pats offense it's a lot. It's a complex offense. But if he has that, foundation, I think that's going to help him.
Yeah, he completed 107 passes to McCaffrey, I believe. Do you see a big boost coming for James White this year? Do you think he's going to be a guy that Cam will rely on heavily?
I do.
It seems like he needed to, as he got his passing up, the last year, accuracy-wise. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I alluded to it earlier. I think the running back is going to be a huge part of the game plan this year. I genuinely do. And Cam Newton, like you said, he had a track record doing that. And before C-Mac, he had D'Angelo Williams, and he was doing just fine with those same routes. And Alex, you mentioned the shoulder. The shoulder shouldn't be what we're worried about. We should be worried about the foot. He tore his rotator cuff in 2016. He won 11 games in 2017, and in 2018 he had a bad season. I believe he was under 500, but he had 24 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, and it was his first year where he completed above 68% of his passes. So we're past the shoulder. He produced after the shoulder. It's the foot we're worried about, and I'm not all that worried about it.
I would go a step further, and I would say it shouldn't even be the foot. It shouldn't even be the shoulder. It should be every other piece of his body that maybe hasn't even been injured yet. This guy is now an injury-prone quarterback. This is not a one-year injury, 1 year Cam Newton injury bounce back. It's not Tom Brady tearing his ACL in 2008, right? And then coming back stronger the next year and having a great season. No, this is Cam Newton getting injured consistently, and it's going to happen again. And Jared Stidham is going to take the ball from him and take the reins of this team for the next 10 years.
And you think with Cam's size, the fact that what Justin was bringing up about his body, all that, you don't think that he's going to be able to make it through another regular season? You think it's just too many injuries have piled up?
I just think he's injury prone now, man. I mean, I think that obviously he's tried to make some changes to his diet and do things kind of a la Tom Brady that haven't worked out for him and have resulted in him obviously getting hurt, maybe potentially because of the diet, maybe his body's just wearing down. We're talking about a guy, yeah, he's 6'6", he's 265, but he's taken a lot of hits. Look at the way Gronk wore down. Look at the way all these other guys have worn down that are that size. I mean, it's just the proof is in the pudding. What has he done in the past few years? I'm not high on him. I think that he's a smokescreen, and I think that he's someone that they're going to use as a gadget guy. I don't think that he's necessarily a starting quarterback in the NFL anymore. Why did no one else take a chance on Cam Newton?
Yeah, that's the thing I want to say is, nobody really took a chance on him. But, I mean, do you guys think that something happened with Stidham? Do you think that there was something that Belichick saw in Stidham? Because it seemed like there was so much belief in Stidham, at least from the coaching perspective. I think that's why a lot of people in New England were bullish on Stidham, was because there was no seemingly backup plan. Now that Cam Newton's here, what do you guys think about the whole plan for Stidham? Do you think there was a plan? Did everything just, did Belichick just hit a button to make everything disappear and the plan's gone and it's stripped down? I mean, what do you think this says about Stidham?
I think that they still like Stidham. I don't think that they've changed their opinion on Stidham. I think it's been noted too by Schefter. They've been talking to Cam Newton. It didn't just start happening a week ago. It's been happening for a couple months. And Belichick waited and waited to see what the price would be. They don't have any salary. They have zero salary. That's why they can only pay him $1 million. And the reason why no one signed him is because he wanted to be a starter. And the other thing is he didn't get released until after a lot of these starting jobs were already taken in free agency. So he got kind of screwed there. And then teams don't want to bring him in to be a backup. He's a very polarizing athlete in the locker room. Like, guys gravitate towards him. You can't have him be a backup to like a young quarterback. Say like if he went to become Dwayne Haskins' backup or the guy in San Diego. Like it
Tyrod
just would, like,
Taylor.
The rookie that they just drafted. It would just hurt like their progression. I don't think they've changed on Stidham. I just think that this came up and it's too good of an opportunity to pass on. And we don't know. Maybe Stidham wins the QB battle in preseason, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think this is Cam Newton's job to lose.
Yeah, I just don't think you bring in Cam Newton with everything that he has to, lose this job. And you see guys on the team already putting out the eyeball emoji. Guys are excited for this. And if you give them Cam, I think a lot of guys are excited. If you pull him away, does that cause some type of division? Alex, what were you about to say?
This is the Patriots. There will be no division of the locker room. And if there is, we won't hear anything about it outside of some random reporter making something up. This is like basically the CIA. We won't know what's going on within that locker room. But what I can tell you is that I believe Cam Newton will be someone who potentially could cause some locker room problems. I mean, you look at him, his cryptic tweets, he's just an odd guy. And I think that typically what we see is with those guys that are a little bit outlandish, they don't last very long on the Patriots. They don't necessarily fit the Patriots way. I think Cam Newton is someone who's all about me. You look at him score these touchdowns. He does a Superman dance. When have you ever seen him hand the ball to an O-lineman and let them spike it, or talk about how great his O-line is, or what the rest of the team is doing? He's a me first guy, and to succeed on the Patriots, I just don't necessarily see him as being able to fit into that Patriot way that I brought up before.
I feel like a lot of his teammates do like him, though. I mean, don't you feel like Cam's teammates typically like him? His coaches, you don't really hear anything too bad, and he doesn't really do a whole lot off the field. He may dress funny, but
I agree. I personally feel like, and Alex, you were right. Like, if this was a marriage, say like 3-4 years, I agree with you. Like the Randy Moss thing, it fell apart towards the end. This is a 1-year deal. And if Cam Newton messes this up, he could be done. But like Dale Revis, you come here, after that, you get paid. Like, it's just, you just stick to the program, you do your job, you're a good teammate, you do well in the community, you're just a typical Patriot. If he does well, no one here is expecting him to be MVP Cam Newton. But if he can lead us to 11-5 season, right? We get in the playoffs. You don't think teams are going to offer him maybe $20 million next year? Nick Foles, how much did he just get from the Bears? Teddy Bridgewater's got $20 million. Like, he can get $20 million somewhere from a team if he does what he has to do here.
The Teddy Bridgewater thing was such a slap in the face to Cam. Cam was due $21 million this year if he played. They give Teddy Bridgewater a 3-year, $21 million deal. They're like, Cam, you're not good enough, but we will sign somebody else for $21 million right in your face. So that did make the market a little bit tougher for him. Frank, what are you going to say over there? I see you smiling.
Yeah. No. It was incredibly disrespectful. I think that roster is very much when he was healthy, always a quarterback away. And that's why when he played, they were good, and when he didn't, they weren't. And I thought them to not be invested in him at all at the end was really disappointing. It was absolutely disrespectful to give that to Teddy Bridgewater, who earned it, but not from a team letting Cam Newton go for the same price tag. But that list of Patriots that come in and can change their image, it's longer than those. I mean, Rodney Harrison came, completely revamped his image. Corey Dillon came, led the league in rushing, won a Super Bowl in his first year. I have no doubt in my mind that this is going to be lightning in a bottle. I worry about the further years because I do think Stidham's the guy of the future, and I do know that Newton won't last anywhere for long. I think he has another maybe 8-9 years of being legitimately productive at an elite level, but that's for 2 or 3 different franchises.
8-9 years.
Yeah, he's 31. We're just entering into a new time frame for athletes all across the board. And that's every sport. That's singular sports. That's tennis. That's golf. That's basketball. That's football. The only people that aren't playing any longer are running backs, and I think we all know why. Even linemen who have comparable CTE levels to running backs and wide receivers are lasting 13 years right now, unless they retire early. Running backs are the only position that have the same shelf life. I think Cam Newton is at 31, and I think for the first time in probably 3 or 4 years, he's healthy. The guy's vegan. We've already mentioned his diet. I'm not going to bring it up again. But he is shredded, and he came back too early from that rotator cuff. And even though his shoulder was fine, I think it damaged the rest of his body, and I think we saw the residual effect. After this long of a layoff, it's shit or get off the pot for Cam Newton. And I'm happy that he's here making that decision because I think it's a hand-glove fit.
What type of quarterback do you think we see out of Cam Newton this year? You know, is he going to be like a top? I mean, last week we talked about how Chris Sims put him up as a top 10 quarterback. How good do you guys see Cam Newton potentially being in this offense?
I mean, go ahead, Alex.
I mean, are we talking about from a statistical perspective or a winning perspective?
I mean, either way, I think mostly he'll be judged on wins and losses, but throw me stats.
I mean, I think that he would, if they handed him the reins, I think he would be a winning quarterback for the Patriots. I'm not going to take that away from him. I think Stidham's the better option, and I think that Stidham's accuracy and his knowledge of the offense and, you know, the rapport he already has built up with the wide receivers that are in-house is a better fit going forward. Having said that, if Cam were to take center stage and he were to be under center for the Patriots this year, I do think that he would probably have somewhere in the neighborhood of a 15 to 20 interception year, probably throw anywhere from 25 to 30 touchdowns, maybe have about 200, 300 yards rushing. I really don't think that they would be utilizing his legs. I think that they would be doing their best to protect him and not let him get hurt if he was the guy. I think that we would see a lot of inaccuracy from him. I do not think that you can classify Cam as an accurate quarterback anymore. I think that he'd probably have somewhere in the neighborhood of a 55% completion percentage and probably throw for somewhere around 3,300 yard mark, somewhere in that area. But that's starting 16 games. I mean, those are not mind-blowing numbers. And I think that if you were to obviously give that to Stidham, I think that we're looking at much better statistics, and I think we're looking at a much better touchdown interception ratio from a much more accurate, younger quarterback who's familiar with the system.
Yeah, so you mentioned that you don't think that he's going to run a lot, Alex. I mean, don't you think that's kind of a waste to bring in a guy like Cam and take away pretty much the thing that makes him most dangerous, which is his ability to run? You think they'll try to just make him a pocket passer?
You know, I think that he's going to run by necessity, and if they do run him too much, I think he's going to get hurt, so I almost think it's an irrelevant point.
I personally feel like if you look at his teams in the past, can you name a receiver other than Steve Smith that was on his team? I mean, Ted Ginn had like a pretty decent year. LaFell was here.
Kelvin Benjamin and Devin
Greg
Funchess.
Yeah, Greg Olsen, which is great.
They couldn't get separation for anything.
DJ had 1,300 yards this past year with Kyle Allen. So if he could have 13, or what did he have? I'm sorry. It was about, I think
DJ
it was
Shark or whatever.
No, DJ Moore for the Panthers. Why?
Yeah, they had good receivers this year, but he wasn't healthy. But like what I'm trying to say is he doesn't need elite receivers to be efficient. And if you look at the early Patriot years, Tom Brady wasn't lighting it up. Tom Brady was more of a game manager. We have a good defense. If Cam Newton,
are we forgetting about Greg Olsen?
Greg Olsen is 37 years old.
When Cam was having his best seasons, he had Greg Olsen to rely on. A quarterback's best friend is A-plus tight end, and Greg Olsen was an A-plus tight end.
Okay, he's good, but I also said Steve Smith and Greg Olsen. But like the past couple of years, Brady's like, I can't. Brady keeps saying, I need better receivers. I need better receivers. Cam Newton doesn't need better receivers because he's an athlete. He can make plays on his own. But if he can just get the ball out quick, not scramble as much, and if he is, slide, don't get hit, I think we can be a 10 to 11 win team. And you need, in like clutch situations, I'm not saying Stidham doesn't have it in him because we've never seen it before. But you knew going into a fourth quarter, we're down, Brady can bring you back. I'm not saying Cam Newton can do this. I know he doesn't have a great history of it, but he's that alpha guy in the huddle that guys gravitate towards. I'm not saying Stidham can't do it. I don't think he can do it just yet. And Cam Newton, if you look at the AFC East, I think every GM and coach in the AFC East now is like, you have got to be kidding me. Brady's gone. You have a rookie coming in, and then you guys just got in Cam Newton. I'm not saying they're like, oh, this is Cam Newton of 2015, but he brings you have to come up with a game plan around Cam Newton on defense. But Stidham, it's really not the same. You're just facing another Sam Darnold type quarterback that's somewhat athletic, has a good arm, but he's not proven yet. Defenses are more scared of Cam Newton than they are of Jarrett Stidham. Plain and simple.
Do you think any of the Cam Newton factor is that that he's done so well against Belichick teams and against the Patriots? Do you think that factors in at all at, the reason why they got a guy like Cam?
I just had a flashback to that crazy wraparound run Cam had about 4 years ago where he left Dante Hightower and every other Patriot in the dust on that scramble. And
Rob Ninkovich, I think, was in the dust on that too.
I think he made the whole defense look. It was like a Superman. It was literally Superman, but he's not that guy anymore. I think that obviously, you look at what he's done historically against the Pats. Yeah, he's had some really great games. That play alone speaks for everything Cam Newton was, but it doesn't speak for who he is today. And you have to know Belichick's smart enough to know that he didn't just sign the NFL MVP for $1 million contract with incentives.
So you think it just comes down to economics, basically?
I mean, I don't think that it's a bad thing having Cam Newton in the room necessarily. I think that him leading the Patriots with his accuracy issues and everything else that comes along with him. I mean, you look at all the timing routes and everything that made the Pats so successful over the past, what's it been, 18 years? And you have to think, is Cam going to be able to make those timing throws? Because that's not how he's made his living in the NFL so far. I don't think so.
Yeah, he's typically made the home run hit. It's typically where he finds someone deep after scrambling around rather than hitting on precise passing routes, dink and dunks, which is kind of the Pats offense.
I mean, look at Jacoby Brissett, that one game against the Texans. It's one game. Obviously, I'm not saying he's a great quarterback. But he is a worse version of Cam Newton. If you can run that somewhat similar type of an offense, make it more basic and understanding for him, and Cam Newton's more athletic than Jacoby Brissett is, and he's a better passer. I'm not saying Cam Newton's he's like one of the best athletic and most efficient passers, but he's definitely a better passer than Jacoby Brissett is. And if you can make the game plan simpler for him, he can make plays on his own. And I don't know. I'm not saying he's going to light up the world, but I think he's a better option than Stidham right now.
Speaking of teams that passed up Cam Newton, the Colts opted for Phillip Rivers, who probably can throw the ball like 45 yards max right now. Maybe 50 yards, 55 max. I'm sorry. 45 was a little bit of an overshot, but if
they got him at a bargain though, 25 mil.
Right. If the Colts can sign a Phillip Rivers instead of pursuing a Cam Newton or even waiting to pursue a Cam Newton, how good is Cam? How much does he have left in the tank? What is going on behind the scenes where this guy was unsigned for so long? I mean, there's more to it than just like if a guy that's MVP version Cam Newton or even close to that level is on the market, you find a way to sign him. NFL GMs can make moves. They can cut bait with bad contracts. They can make trades to open up roster space and cap space. But at the end of the day, I mean, no one else did it besides the Pats signing him in a bargain basement deal.
Well, all the options for him to go places were like taken, and he told everyone, "I don't want to be a backup." Like Jameis Winston said, "I will be a backup for Drew Brees. I want to learn." That's why he's there. If he wanted to be a starter, he'd probably still be on the market. Like Cam Newton wants to be a starter, and the only place I think he could have gone would have been Oakland, but they signed Mariota to be the backup, and they already have Derek Carr. So the other team that makes sense is the Redskins, which I still don't understand why they never signed him, because I think Haskins is terrible, and he has a familiarity with Rivera. Like, well, I don't understand why they didn't sign him, but all these other teams that have young quarterbacks, they drafted these guys in the first round to be the quarterback. Like the Jets, the Bills, they're not going to sign Cam Newton. The Dolphins just signed Tua. I guess the only last team that would make sense is the Jaguars, and I don't know why they didn't do it, because Minshew is just – I don't see him as a good quarterback.
Minshew's great. Minshew's like Chad Pennington. He's like literally he's the standard bearer for average. He is going like when you talk about game manager, that is what a prototypical game manager looks like. Gardner Minshew will never win his team any games. He probably won't lose them though. He's a nice average. He's vanilla ice cream standing back there. He's fine. And I think to answer the original question, how's it going to look? I think statistically, Alex, you nailed it. That's the dichotomy, because statistically, it's not going to look good for Cam Newton this year. I think in his best year of production for the Pats and in our best year in terms of wins, Cam Newton still doesn't have a very strong statistical season. I think his ceiling is probably 13 wins, but I genuinely thought we were at about 9 wins already. I think he cements us at double digits. And I'm under no illusions here. I know we're not getting the MVP, but I don't think we need him. I'm excited to see what the offense is going to look like. This is going to be the most different Patriots offense I've seen since that Jacoby Brissett game, and before that, since I don't know when. Because as much as we think Bledsoe is overrated, he's a very similar quarterback to Tom Brady. They both just statuesque and stood back there. I'm pumped to see what this offense looks like. And I don't think we're going to see any read option, anything like that. I genuinely don't think we're going to let Cam Newton run often, but I think you're going to see his legs come into play on 3rd and 4th down. I think genuinely that's when he'll make his biggest impact, because that's when he made a lot of his biggest impact in Carolina. Most of those power runs were on 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, 2-point conversions, goal line. That's when most of those big hits came. And I think that we're smart enough to not run power. We're smart enough to run a wide receiver, sweep fake, have him run on behind it, slide down, get down, and I think it's going to look a lot better. And that's, again, I think it's so complimentary. The offense we were already planning on running, because we were already going to run. We're going to run the ball 35 times a year. 35 times a game this year. And I thought we were going to do that before we signed him. Now you add him, and again, he's holding just one more linebacker hostage. I think it's going to work, and I think it's complimentary. I know I bang that drum, but I think the offense we were going to run was already going to be different and exciting, but now we just added Cam Newton.
Cam Newton, think it's almost like
this year in a Patriots jersey.
What's that?
I beg your
Cam
pardon?
Newton will not end this year in a Patriots jersey. He will not make it through the season with the Patriots.
I got a $100 bet that says he will. On air right now.
All right, deal. Bet.
If it doesn't work, he'll get cut.
Accepted.
Belichick's proven that.
Thanks for the free money, Frank.
Hey, we left Randy Moss at a bus stop. And like, if he doesn't last, it's going to be glorious. But I think he'll last, and I think he'll be great, and I think you'll be eating crow, and I'll take your money. Speaking of $100, you still owe me $100, but that's besides the point.
I will pay.
Cam Newton can't afford to screw this. Cam Newton can't afford to screw this up, though. I mean, Cam has to do well here. I mean, this is his last chance. I mean, he's never going to get. I mean, this is like your 1-year try-it offer. If he's not going to be good in this climate, I mean, he's never going to get a chance to be a decent starter ever again. So I think you're going to see a pretty motivated Cam Newton. I mean,
for what it's chance, but he'll never get paid that big contract that he's looking for. This is his stopgap.
This is his Tannehill plan.
Usually, when these guys come in, year 1's good. Year 2, year 3, that's when it starts to fade. This is a 1-year investment. Their Patriots are not signing him to a contract after this year.
Yeah, this is Revis. No matter what he does, even if he throws 40 touchdowns this year, they're not going to re-sign him.
No.
He's going to throw the ball 15, 20 times a game. Like Frank said, it's a running offense. They're going to go back to like how when we won the Super Bowl 2 years ago in the playoffs, that was a running team. That's exactly what we're going to be.
So do you think they're almost like trying to copy the Ravens mold and run it a little bit more, be more like them, or it's just like a ball control offense, keep the ball out of Cam's hands?
It's difficult to say because Lamar Jackson is much more athletic than Cam Newton is right now. But if you think about it, the Pats drafted 2 tight ends this year, which I know people aren't that thrilled about these tight ends, but one of them or both of them can block. One of them is more athletic than the other. But if you can run similar type offense, the tight end and the short intermediate routes, this can be successful. Like tight ends, like you said, Alex, is a quarterback's best friend. If you can get those tight ends to play action, 10-yard in and out, run the ball down the field, maybe a scramble here and there from Cam, you can move the ball quick. And I would not be surprised if Cam Newton catches 1 or 2 touchdowns this year from Julian Edelman. They're going to run some sneak plays this year, and I guarantee you that Cam Newton's going to catch a couple passes.
You think that Ossie is going to be the tight end that Cam
Ossie?
Newton?
Ossie?
Yes.
He's a damn good tight end.
He's good in
He
college.
put up some great receiving numbers at UCLA, didn't he?
He missed a season for, I don't know, drug tests. Who knows? It's college, whatever. That guy is an athletic freak. He is going to be a good tight end. Lots of GMs said that was a steal, that pick right there.
Didn't they say the next tight end was a steal too?
Tight ends are typically a year and wait before actually producing.
Who
Typically,
knows?
a year and wait before actually producing.
He's better than what we had last year. That's for damn sure. Those tight ends
That's
were
true. That is true.
That is
I
fair.
think he's an upgrade over what they had last year.
He is an upgrade.
Unless you send it to Seattle, because Russell Wilson was able to throw to those guys.
If it's not working halfway, we'll call Ben Watson and say, you want to come back for another half a year when you're 40?
Can you take the juice and take the 4-game hit?
Take some HGH and take the drug test, and we'll cut you, and we'll bring you back.
Yeah, so you guys kind of talked about it. The Pats, they tried to hide it as best as possible, but they lose a 3rd-round pick in the role with the camera crew with Cincinnati. What did you guys think about the punishment? Did it fit the crime? Was it more a result of the Pats being accused of cheating, in the past? How did you think it fit?
Well, let's make no mistake.
It was a little.
No,
go ahead.
Frank.
You, Frank. You.
I'm sorry. I love talking about the Patriots cheating. I get off to it because I'm such a fan. And we have at this point given up 2 first-round picks, a 3rd-round pick, a 4th-round pick for cheating. And if you ask me if it's worth it, absolutely. No one individual player with any of those picks were worth those camera knowledge. Let's be realistic. And I understand, who would videotape the Bengals? Who cares? We're just getting more signs, more knowledge. Ernie Adams literally doesn't even have a job description, and he gets paid handsomely. And his job is to sit in an office and decode film. Like, I love this franchise. And this was obviously the crime does not fit the punishment. They gave us an overly steep punishment, just like they did in Deflategate, which we also did, by the way. And it's because they're chasing their tail with Spygate. They will never, ever – they didn't want the scandal that it would have been. They helped us out. Thank you, NFL. And ever since then, they've been trying to cover that up by over-punishing us when small things happen.
The Cam Newton signing, too, I believe, I'm not sure, if we cut him or we keep him, we get a 3rd-round compensatory pick. So,
yep.
Belichick's like, you're going to take my 3rd pick? All right, I'll sign Cam Newton. So screw you, Goodell. Screw the whole NFL, because they have if you watch the tapes, everyone said there's zero, there shouldn't have been any crime for this whatsoever. There are teams with Bluetooth devices like the Ravens. The Steelers always do shady shit, and they never get caught. The NFL, whatever Belichick does, they want to screw him. Belichick just sits in his office. He's got his dog freaking doing the drafts. He's like, I don't care. I'm going to win no matter what. You guys can all pound sand, and it's glorious. Like Frank said, it's amazing. The Deflategate stuff was a big crap. You know what? Spent months and months on it. Suspended Brady. Guess what? We went 3-1 without Brady, and then we won the Super Bowl. So you guys can all pound sand. The whole league can pound sand.
No, I'm with you guys entirely. I wish I could disagree, but we're the Patriots, man. We're the best at it. We might have stolen some signs along the way, but hey, kiss the rings.
Everyone does it.
Exactly. You're professional sports. If you're not cheating, you're not trying. I mean, if I don't see you pushing the envelope, I'm upset as a fan. I want to see my guys on roids. I want to see my guys doing whatever they possibly can. There's kids in freaking high school that are taking roids. You know what I mean? I want to see my guys pushing the limit as much as they can.
Belichick knows the rule book. He knows it. He probably reads that thing like it's the Bible. He's like, okay, this is the rule, so I'm going to go as far up to it as possible and get away with it. And then the coaches go to Goodell, complain. They're like, okay, I guess we have to install another Belichick rule again, like that thing with the Ravens a couple playoffs.
Like the offensive lineman.
Yeah, it's like he's a genius, and everyone gets so pissed when he screws them every single time. But if you're telling me that other teams aren't watching other teams, you're crazy. It's like baseball. Everyone's cheating. And to your point, Alex, it was the Bengals, the worst team in the league. No one was spying on them.
But yeah.
They wanted to learn how to go 0-8.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
how do you get Joe Burrow?
The signs they're stealing, those Bengals coaches could be going somewhere else next year. I don't know, what they were even videotaping, whether there's a defense, offense. Guys move around the league and they keep their same signals as they jump team to team. They probably have a library of every single coach in the NFL's different play calling and their signals. This is so far beyond what we as fans can even comprehend what the Patriots know about the rest of the league.
God, I can't wait for the tell-all.
One more thing too. The NFL wanted this to be like a hush-hush thing. If they wanted to make a big deal about this, they would have released this Friday at 5:00 and made a center special about it like they did Deflategate.
They would have released it a couple months ago.
ESPN's not even talking about it because it's just like, come on. Everyone knows there's nothing there. It sucks every time you're a Pats fan, you have to defend against all these other fans like, oh, you're a cheater, you're a cheater. It's like, okay, yeah, Brady had deflated balls, so he won 2 Super Bowls since. Screw you. All the quarterbacks play with the balls. It's been going on forever. They've all admitted it, and no one does anything about it.
Yeah, agreed. After that, Aaron Rodgers was like, I like mine overinflated. Eli was like, I like mine underinflated. Every guy came out, and they're like, no. What happened with the Patriots?
That Colts game, Brady didn't even throw the ball, but Garrett Blount ran for 160 yards and 3 touchdowns. It was pouring rain out. That's the best part about that whole game.
And didn't they come back in the second half and Brady kind of lit it up?
I don't know. It was 45-3. So even if they're playing with the regular footballs or a beach ball, they still kicked the crap out of them.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. They won by 50 points. So who gives a crap? So, it's been 10 years since the NBA decision. And, that kind of put together one of the most hated teams, the Heat. They ultimately win 2 out of 4 titles. Did you guys think that was a success or failure, based on how well they were supposed to be?
Absolute failure. You look at those Miami Heat teams, they were stacked. They have Rashard Lewis, Mike Miller. Their bench was outrageous. And adding into those 3 all-star players, I mean, you had former all-stars, you had great role players like Mario Chalmers, for example.
Shane Battier.
I was the biggest pest. Yeah, Shane Battier. You are looking at one of the most stacked maybe the most stacked on paper team in NBA history besides the Golden State Warriors, a la Kevin Durant. But when you look at what the Heat were able to accomplish in those years, going 2 for 4, losing to the Mavs with Dirk putting the whole Mavericks on his back, and then losing again to the Spurs with an old Tim Duncan, a young Kawhi. I mean, you have to look at the Heat and say 2 championships after not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6. That is a failure. LeBron will admit it was a failure. Everyone, if you were to ask them that was involved with that, you ask Pat Riley if he's happy with what came of the decision. I mean, in total, for what it should have been and what it could have been, I think it was a failure.
Do you think if they go 3 for 4, it's a success?
Yes.
If they win that Mavericks title, that's a success, right?
Yeah.
If they
still have D Wade at the height of the power
like that.
Yes, you had D Wade at the height of his powers. So you had the best small forward.
You had the second best shooting guard. Maybe even you could argue he was better than Kobe at that stage of Kobe's career with all of Kobe's injuries. So let's say the best small forward in LeBron, the best shooting guard, and a top 3 power forward in the NBA in Chris Bosh. I mean,
and you had a stacked bench.
With a stacked, absolutely stacked bench. Maybe the most stacked bench in the history of the NBA. I mean, if you win 3 or 4, good for you. We can call that a success, but I think LeBron absolutely. I mean, he should have gone 3 for 4 at the very least, but it is what it is. So,
yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I think 2 out of 4 is a huge failure, especially having guys like Ray Allen on that team hitting like one of the most clutch shots of all time.
right.
You were that incredible shot away from being 1 of 4. So I know nobody looks back on that, but you always just count the rings. But if you look, they were one incredible play away. So, and just to lose that game against to lose that series against the Mavericks. I mean, LeBron James averages 25.5 points right now in his career. He averaged 17.5 points in that final series. I still can't figure out what they did defensively to hold him such in check. I've never seen him so passive in his whole career. I think that was the best job that anyone's ever done defending LeBron James in that series.
What did he have, 14 points per game or something?
It was like 17.5 points a game, basically.
For LeBron James, and you want to anoint yourself the king? You want to sit on the throne? No, you don't get to do that. You don't get to say, oh, I won with the Cavs, and that's when I said, wow, you're the best basketball player ever. And then you cut to the Jordan looking at his iPad meme where he's just like, like laughing to himself. LeBron, get over yourself. You need to win at least 2 more titles if you want to even be in the conversation as the greatest of all time. But that's another discussion. I apologize for going.
You don't think 3 is enough to be in the discussion? I feel like
all time 3 for 9. No, I do not. And I also think that if you were to put his team with the Heat up against the Lakers in 2009 and 10, or the Celtics in 2008 or 9 with a healthy Garnett, or maybe even 2010, they're losing to either of those teams. I think that the Celtics were over the hill, the Lakers were over the hill. The Heat had their opportunity to capitalize, and they couldn't even beat the Mavericks.
It's a good point.
That first year with LeBron in Miami, he was too passive. He admitted, like Dwayne Wade after that season, he's like, this is your team. Like the whole year, he just like let Dwayne Wade run the show, and that's why they lost. Like that's plain and simple. That's why it happened. But I could go on and on about LeBron. Everyone here knows how I feel about LeBron. If he wins 1 or 2 more, he's in the conversation. But I think everyone after that Jordan documentary realizes that he's not even close to Jordan. But he's definitely top 3 all time.
Yeah, I mean, I think you pretty much have to. have LeBron in your top 3 at this point.
He's definitely royal. He's NBA royalty. Everyone can say that. Just the way he goes about things. Sometimes it's like, why, But let's see.
Yeah,
I mean, he could win this year. He honestly could. That team is loaded, and if he doesn't, that's just another thing to talk about next year. Why didn't you win? Your team. You have the best player in the NBA on your team. Your team is full of great role players, and if you lose, it's another thing to talk about LeBron. Why he's not the best.
Yeah, speaking of them and his team, they swap out Avery Bradley and bring in J.R. Smith. I gotta say, I hate it. I think J.R. Smith is old and over the hill, and I think he's kind of lazy. I think he's not going to be nearly the defensive presence that they need. I mean, obviously he's a good shooter and he's longer than Bradley, but I think that that's honestly going to be a sore spot for them in the rotation now. What do you guys think as they lose Avery Bradley to the bubble and, he's going to miss out on the bubble and they bring in J.R. Smith?
I love J.R. Smith, but this is not a very good – it's a good decision. It's not going to go very well. You got 24 minutes a game that Avery Bradley took up. That's now going to be filled by some combination of KCP, J.R. Smith, Dion Waiters, who they picked up and everybody forgot about, and Rajon Rondo. So I don't think that's going to work itself out. I think they're going to struggle at that position. But what J.R. Smith can do that Avery Bradley wasn't doing all that well is shoot threes. Avery Bradley was shooting 3 a game, only making 1. J.R. Smith is an all-time streaky shooter. As long as he's hot for the 1 month they're in the bubble or the 2 months he's in the bubble, he can be productive in his 6 minutes a game. I don't think they're going to extend it much past that, nor should they. But if him and Dion Waiters combined get more than 12 minutes a game, I'll be shocked.
Right. I can't see a big role for him at all.
No.
Like, he's not going to be near the 25 minutes.
Avery Bradley's defense is what they're going to miss. Avery Bradley's defense. You need that defense in the backcourt. Again, if you play the Rockets, like that defense against either Harden or Westbrook, you need that. None of those guys can play defense. Green can play defense, but the other guys cannot.
I'm going to have to disagree. I think that this is the perfect signing for the Lakers. I think that off the street, this was the best guy they could have brought in. What do the Lakers need more than anything? They need shooting. They need guys who can stretch the floor and allow space for guys like LeBron, Anthony Davis, even, Dwight Howard, getting him down low in a one-on-one matchup with, a center like a Brook Lopez or a Daniel Tice. Dwight's probably going to dominate that matchup. Let's be real here. He's too big and too strong. So even JaVale McGee, the length and what they have to offer by spreading out opposing defenses, that Lakers team with someone like J.R. Smith out there instead of Avery Bradley is more dangerous. Avery Bradley was at one point, arguably the best defensive guard in the NBA. I no longer think that he's near that level of conversation. Love you, AB, but just I think obviously you've had a great career, but you're not quite who you used to be, and you've never been that great of a three-point shooter at that. J.R. Smith, again, microwave guy who was, outside of probably the worst play in the history of the finals, was a very important piece to those Cavs teams that continually dominated the East for all those years. And I mean, I just think he's going to bring a lot to the table. He's a fun guy to have around, good locker room presence. I mean, and there's nothing better than when JR wins a championship and he's shirtless for 3 weeks after he's got the trophy and he's trolling around town and he's basically going full Dennis Rodman. I mean, what's better than that? Everyone can root for JR.
If JR gets hot, it's a match made in heaven because he can hit a couple big threes. But if he does not, like Frank said, I do not see him playing more than 3 to 5 minutes a game because he's useless out there unless he's hot. He doesn't play well off the ball. He finds a spot and just shoots it. He's not a dribbler. He's not a passer. He doesn't play defense. But if he gets hot,
he doesn't have to be.
That's what I'm saying. If he gets hot, great.
He can play defense. When he's been asked in the past to play defense, he's played elite defense. He's a lazy guy. You got to keep him motivated, not just for 82 games or not just for 4 times in 7 nights. You got to keep that guy motivated for every second. He has shown you that if he jumps into a sea of trees and grabs a wonderful offensive rebound in a high 10 situation, he'll then dribble the clock out. So you just got to stay in his head the entirety of the game. But he can play defense. Can he do it after not having played in the NBA for 2 years? That remains to be seen. But when he's needed to play defense in the past, he has stepped it up on that side of the floor.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't think there's going to be a lot coming out of a J.R. Smith that's taken off. I think it's been a year, right? Has it been a year or 2?
A year and a half. 2018 is his last NBA game played.
Yeah. So, I mean, I just don't think you're getting a whole lot out of a guy who's gotten older. His percentages were kind of going down the last couple of years, but we'll see.
But like Frank said, they already have I forgot they had waiters. They have KCP. They have Danny Green. So if he doesn't get hot, he's just going to be on the bench.
Waiters not a good fit.
Yeah, he'll just come in and do heat checks. Yeah.
He needs his Mike Millers. He needs his Ray Allens. He needs his shooters, or he can't operate the way he needs to.
J.R. Smith wasn't that his last year in the league. J.R. Smith wasn't that from 3-point range his last year in the league. That's why he took a year off. If he was that, he'd have been on a team last year. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't think it's possible that he can be that because I said it last week. Skills age much better than athleticism, obviously. So because he's a good shooter, maybe that was a mental block in 2018 and he's free and he shoots it from all over the gym, which he's capable of doing. But he wasn't a great 3-point shooter his last year in the league.
Well, he only played 11 games.
There's a reason for that. Didn't he get bought out twice, I think?
I think he got bought out, but yeah, he only shot like 30% his last season. Guy's been around since he was 19, though. I mean, he's played some games.
Orleans Hornets, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Remember, he was in the dunk contest with Josh Smith.
Yep.
It was
Josh Smith.
JR and Josh, Jay Smooth.
Yep.
That guy's been out of the league for a while now. Well, let's see. I saw an interesting stat. The Celtics are averaging 93.4 points per game by guys that are 6'8" or shorter. There's only been one team all time. It was the 89-90 Warriors that averaged more points by guys 6'8" or shorter. So they were just making a point that everybody kind of says that Houston Rockets are playing small ball, where the Celtics are actually playing small ball. They've used one of the smallest lineups going. So, I mean, as they go into the bubble with that small lineup, how effective do you think they can be against Milwaukee? Do you guys think they can beat Milwaukee?
It's about chemistry. If they can pick up right where they left off, because they were a very injured team in what would have been the regular season. If they've taken this time to get healthy, and again, Jason Tatum didn't shoot a ball for the first month and a half of quarantine, so maybe it doesn't just end up that smooth, but as long as there's rhythm, they should be better than any team that they're going to face in the first 2 rounds, because they not only were injured, but this is the future of the league. It's all about wing play, and we have the best wing play. We're better than the Sixers in that department. We're better than pretty much everybody we're going to face up until the finals, until I think either LA team. I mean, I love the way our team's constructed. It's very much in Danny Ainge's image. I think he wanted Kawhi to be his power forward back in the day. A wet dream for him is every in his roster is between 6'8" and 6'4", and they're all 3-and-D guys. And I love our team. I love the Kemba Walker signing, and I think, again, we were very, very injured, and it's nice that we had this time. As long as we can pick up like we never spent any time not playing, we're going to be a force. This is going to be good.
I honestly think that Milwaukee is in trouble when they play us. I mean, I think that's going to be a tough matchup for them. I mean, they have Giannis, but when you get past that, you have Chris Middleton, and then you have Eric Bledsoe, and it gets pretty short pretty quick. They're really not that deep.
They're the best home team in the NBA this year. They're not playing at home anymore.
And there's no home games.
The Celtics are one of the best road teams this year. That says a lot for this environment, which is crazy because in the years past, whenever the Celtics played in the road in the playoffs, we'd lose by 30. And then at home, our young players will play unbelievable. I think Kemba, the most important thing is Kemba and Gordon Hayward finally being healthy for this run. Because Kemba, if we went to the playoffs, Kemba not being fully healthy, that would have hurt us. Hopefully he's fully healthy now because we need him. It can't just all be on Tatum moving forward.
See, I think you can make an argument that the Celtics are actually the best team in the NBA when healthy. I really think you can make that argument. Having said that, I just don't think anyone's going to be able to stop Giannis. And I think that he's still going to be able to put up 30, 35 points a game against the Celtics. And when they double down on Giannis, he has guys to kick it out to. He has Kyle Korver. He has Chris Middleton. He has Brooke Lopez, for God's sakes, at 7 feet tall, who's going to be able to sit at the corner 3 and make space for him. There is so much to like about this Bucks team and what they're able to do. I think that everything is heading towards a Lakers-Bucks final. I think everything adds up like that. That the two better teams per se might actually be the Clippers and the Celtics, and those are the rosters I'd want to have building going forward. I would like to build around those rosters going forward. But I think that when you look at the Bucks and you look at the Lakers, this is a win now year for both franchises, and I think that we'll see them both make the finals. Even though I do believe the Celtics are actually the more talented roster overall, I think that they're another year away.
So you would take the Bucks roster this year over what the Celtics have?
I will, and I'm a huge Celtics fan, huge Celtics believer. I think that this is going to go 7 games, and I think this is going to be a gritty, tough-fought series. But I think Tatum is absolutely evolving. But I mean, you look at Giannis and you look at where he is. I mean, in the All-Star game, Giannis might as well have had his Bucks teammates out there against LeBron, Kawhi, Harden, all those guys, all the best players in the NBA was basically in it versus Giannis. And then Embiid obviously was a factor, but it was like Giannis going at that entire team of guys and they still could not stop him. And I think we're going to see that in the playoffs.
What if nobody doubles Giannis? What if they just bring in, and for the Celtics example, bring in Semi Ojeleye, bring in Kadeem Allen, get all these guys to foul Giannis. He's a 60% free throw shooter. Let him get his 40 and 20 a game, and watch that team score 65 points.
Yeah, exactly.
He's baby Shaq. Until he can shoot, he's going to be a dominant player, but his team's going to suffer from his lack of range.
What do you
because
think
he's
working on
a wing player who can't shoot? I'm sorry?
What do you think he's been working on all quarantine? Probably his 3-point shooting. It's the only
Probably.
He doesn't have a hoop at his house, I think.
Oh, that's all. Come on. You think Giannis hasn't been practicing? You think that Bucks haven't had him doing things? And you think he is
those Cavalier teams
as hard as that kid has. He has the heart of a lion. Giannis does.
I totally agree. That's one of the biggest things I like about Giannis is that he's like.
But look at the Cavalier teams. Like when LeBron was there the first time, when he played against the Celtics 08, they're like, we're gonna let LeBron score his 35-40. It's guaranteed. But look around him. If you don't double team Giannis, like Frank said, foul him, let him shoot his free throws, which he does not make. He's a better 3-point shooter, I think, than he is a free throw shooter. Watching him shoot free throws is pretty pitiful to watch. He's getting better, but if you don't double him, that means less great shots from Middleton, less great shots for everybody else. And let's face it, Chris Middleton's a good player, but he's not like an elite all-star. And everybody else on that team are good role players. And we have athletic wings at every position. Contest all those shots. And Brad Stevens is a good coach to drop a defensive plan around that. You can't just double team Giannis the whole game because Kyle Korver is going to hit 15 threes in that series wide open.
Giannis is the best player in the NBA, and how dare you compare the Bucks roster to the Cavs roster when LeBron was trying to take on the Celtics? How dare you?
Is Larry Hughes not better than Chris Middleton?
LeBron would have killed to have an Eric Bledsoe.
I'll take Ilgauskas over Brook Lopez any day of the week.
If Giannis,
I will too.
Ilgauskas was good. He was underrated. That guy was a good player.
He was done though.
Bergel, Iron Newble. That's an underrated roster. Let me tell you.
Yeah, Bergel, the guy from Krusty Marshall from The Simpsons. Bergel.
Big Z was done though by the time LeBron got there. I felt.
He had 2 good years with him, and then they traded off for that Shaq experiment.
Delonte West was busy hooking up with LeBron's mom. He wasn't involved with the offense at that point.
Yeah.
Damn, you brought his mom into this, man.
You
brought his mom into open season. Sensual. I mean, hey.
Well,
until you try it, right?
Now that LeBron's mom is here, I guess we can end things.
Yeah.
It's a great way to end the show.
All right, gentlemen. Well, good feedback from everybody, and we'll catch you next week.
Get some sunscreen on that, Alex.
Yeah, I need aloe now.